Good morning. My name is Dominique Fuller, and this is my ERIC project experience on student motivation. The ERIC project enables teachers to reflect on their teaching practices, values, and beliefs that they have developed over time. Part 1 prompted me to delve deeper into what truly motivates students in my classroom. This part of the project also made me reflect on the types of motivation because some of my students are motivated by grades, while others are intrinsically motivated. Starting as a theater and dance teacher and transitioning into the classroom, I have learned to integrate the arts in student engagement. A high point in the project was completing the literature review because I found research that supported my thinking about the factors of motivation. So, my factors of motivation include student choice, right? Them developing and building that student agency. Um, Peer collaboration is also a big one for me. That is definitely an incentive for students, working together, and also using digital tools. That definitely helps with student engagement in the material that they are learning. So, those are my three factors that I'll be talking about. Another high point was reading the Module 8 articles about motivation because they also supported my thinking about student motivation. It just made me feel like it was just like a sigh of relief. It's like, okay, like these are all of the factors that I was talking about, and these are, you know, the factors that are, in these articles. There's research behind all of these factors in building student motivation. Students are highly motivated when they have autonomy, and teachers show that they care and believe in them. The low points were discovering that the teachers who are on my team, because those are the ones that I gave the questionnaire to, and did the interview, don't use student choice as a motivator. They don't, when it comes to giving students choice in decision making, they don't use that, or they didn't use it last year. They also do not believe that digital tools enhance student motivation. I think that a lot of my teachers, because our students use Chromebooks like one to one, like everybody has their own Chromebook, they see it as a distraction. This information surprised me when I read their questionnaire results because I have different opinions about student choice and using digital tools. In my project findings, I researched the key factors of student motivation, which I noted earlier. In the article, Student Agency for Powerful Learning, the author shared that students can develop their identity and believe that they can build efficacy in student agency. The author argues that student agency is about listening and responding to student voice. This concept calls for a restructuring of systems to encourage differentiation. So, what this means to me is like basically us as teachers like getting off the stage and allowing room for students, to take over the learning. It can't be us on stage the whole time. We have to like release our control, of the classroom. Not saying like completely, like absolutely, like the best feeling is when we're facilitating and they're engaging in the learning, they're figuring things out, because then that builds that efficacy. They believe that they can achieve. They can fix their own problems. It's not them coming up to us 24/7 trying to solve their problems or answer their questions. Also, them figuring it out together is so powerful, and them teaching each other is also powerful as well. So I think that that's what that article was calling for when I did my literature review. In the article, Effectiveness of Digital Tools to Support Pupils' Reading in Secondary School, the authors concluded that digital tools are practical because they increase student motivation and improve reading skills and test scores. For example, the articles discuss the clarity that tech features provide. They can act as interactive scaffolds to support independent reading of young people without an adult needing to be present. The authors also state the impact digital tools have on student motivation. Digital tools used in school might be an effective approach to support adolescents' reading by increasing their reading enjoyment and motivation. This one is always like a tricky one for me because I do want balanced digital literacy, right? I don't want them on the computer 24/7. However, like, this is a way for them to engage and interact. I feel like they have to learn both. Like, in this day and age, I think it's so much more complex than, when I was in school. So they do have to learn and read, um, both digitally and in print, and they have to engage with all of these different tools. And that was something that we talked about in the last chapter, one of the last chapters that we've read, about students building their digital literacy. um, it's necessary, but it does have its benefits, and that's what was proven in this article. And it does, help with their reading skills. I feel like, I use like platforms like Kami, um, and then our textbook is through HMH, and there's a lot of tools that they have where students can interact with the text using digital tools. And lastly, in the article, To Choose or Not to Choose, establishing a correlation between choice, collaboration, and classroom engagement, the author conducted a study with her class based on the lack of engagement. After the study, the author concluded that collaboration is a crucial aspect of student engagement. Collaboration is a differentiation method, and it offers the opportunity for student choice. It enables students to take ownership of their learning and encourages them to think more deeply about the learning materials through discussion. The author concluded after the study that collaboration increases all types of engagement. I completely agree with this because when students are able to discuss the learning material, I know some students don't feel comfortable like talking, but when they're able to talk it through, they have a better understanding. They're able to share and exchange ideas. They learn from one another, and it helps them work on their listening skills, um, their communication skills. And then they can take all those different perspectives that they learn and apply it to their independent writing task. Before any writing test, they always have some sort of discussion. Sometimes it's debates, sometimes it's just like a literature circle, of some sort. Even if it's just like a peer-to-peer discussion, they have some sort of discussion before they start writing independently. And I think it's also a powerful tool as well, and it motivates them because they are able to build clarity. It builds classroom culture as well. My initial views on the use of digital tools have been modified, as looking at the data from my colleagues reminded me that one of the major distractions in the classroom is technology. Since our students each have their own Chromebooks, as I stated before, they're used to using them in every class. During instructional time, students can fall victim to passive learning because they are distracted by their devices for personal use. Students should also refrain from using their devices during the entire instructional period. So that's something that I'm trying to work on for next school year, just to, have a balance between the tech. And maybe there's some days where there's no tech. I think, at least one day out of the week, no tech would be very beneficial. And again, I don't want them to be passively learning. That's what I don't want them to fall into. As far as peer collaboration, that's also been modified based on the results of the questionnaires from my colleagues. I do use, peer collaboration in my classroom to enhance their questioning and listening skills. It can also be a distraction sometimes. When students work with their friends, they become distracted sometimes, and not everyone's held accountable. So sometimes you'll see some students like, just relying on one person to do all of the work, or just a few people. I find monitoring student behavior more, right, during peer collaboration. But to continue developing peer collaboration, I just need to set clear expectations at the beginning, consistently reiterate them, when they're working with their peers, even if there's some sort of like little cue card I have on their desk that reminds them. And so I can just come by and point, like, hey, are you following these? Having some sort of checklist as well. Additionally, providing group assignments plays a crucial role in student accountability. Students who are not contributing to their group will have to work in a group with the teacher. I always say that. And also just trying the, like, maybe assigning groups sometimes. Sometimes that does work, even though students might, prefer to have the choice. Sometimes assigning those groups maybe at the beginning of the year might help, and then we can eventually provide choice when it comes to peer collaboration. I still believe that digital tools, peer collaboration, and providing students with choice are all significant factors of student motivation. Based on the research from the literature review, all of the articles mention numerous reasons why and evidence for how these factors build student agency and self-efficacy. All of these factors also support differentiated instruction as they cater to the diverse learning needs of all students. Digital tools can help students who struggle with comprehension by providing scaffolds through various tech tools. Digital tools are also familiar to students and can keep them engaged in their learning. Student choice allows students to take ownership of their education and feel a sense of belonging in the classroom. So, in closing, completing the ERIC project has allowed me to reflect on my teaching practice and beliefs that make my classroom unique. It has also made me think about how to refine my teaching by ensuring the keys to student motivation are not distractions from student learning. I must ensure that there is a balance and that students understand that their power and control over their learning come with responsibility. This way, they can maximize their learning experience and avoid wasting time reviewing expectations, instead using that time for active learning, engagement, and student agency. And that is all I have. Thank you for watching.